It's a seagull screaming in my background. Okay, so I'm going to be talking about self-love, and I'm going to be sharing some personal experiences that have led me to loving myself, because I think that it's important to have a personal quality to this subject. And I also think it's important that you know that I've been through things to lead me to the perspectives that I have. I'm not just getting in front of this camera and running my mouth about be good and be a positive person. Like, there are reasons why I'm the person that I am, and I say the things that I say. So with that being said, let's dive into it. I think the first thing you just need to know about me is I've always been a very insecure person, like emotionally very fragile. I grew up in a household where I was not really able to establish a voice for myself or like have confidence in being like, this is me and this is what I like, you know, without the fear of punishment. And so I became very like quiet about me and not really sure like how to express myself. Went to predominantly white schools in very small towns and faced a lot of situations where I was made to feel very different for the way that I look. So I had this complex about my physical appearance. You know, I have curly hair that I didn't really know what to do with, and by 7th grade, like my skin was just terrible, and that really knocked my confidence a lot. I felt like I was this totally terribly ugly person, and I had this very awkward, shy personality, and I was just like very socially anxious. And so, I mean, that's just kind of like the background of me as a person. Like, I was very insecure, very awkward, very much needing the approval and the validation from other people, and I don't think I've ever truly felt confident like as a child, you know. So fast forward, we're gonna pick up this story about 3 years ago. I got out of a long-term relationship, a 10-year relationship, ultimately because of infidelity, like multiple infidelities, and moved back to the Midwest. So I was living in Los Angeles, you know, living this life, and everything just kind of fell apart. And it was a very low time for me because I had to face the reality that I had invested my entire life into this other person. Everything about me was about them, you know, and I never really developed myself as an individual. Like, I just made myself the relationship. That really jump-started my journey of like, what does it mean to love myself? People say it, but I don't know what that means. Like, how many facials can I give myself before I start feeling the effects, you know? Like, there's got to be something more to this that I'm missing. So I started skydiving. That was fun. That was sort of like the first thing that I did on my own, like a decision that I made for myself, by myself. I didn't tell anybody that I was going to do it. I just did it, and it was amazing. And it sort of like jolted me out of this very severe depression. And so I decided, like, I'm gonna be a skydiver, and I'm gonna do this, and start getting into that, and you know, trying to find my own voice and realize my own identity in that, and made a lot of mistakes there. tried to get, you know, relationships going with people that I thought were really cool, and it just didn't work out. And you know, everything just kind of fizzled. And I would like to say, meanwhile, this is all kind of like happening. There's no like linear storyline to this. There's just like many different things that happen all at the same time. So I do have to mention, because it's very important to mention, that one of the people that my ex was involved with ended up becoming a Grammy Award winning artist, celebrity. Like, my friends, my family, oh my gosh, she's so great. You know, the entire world is like, she's this symbol of female empowerment, and like, oh my gosh, she's the greatest thing in the world. And like, every time I turn on the TV, her songs would be on, or like I go to the movie theater and her like songs, and like see her face. And that was so hard for me to have to look at the success of someone who hurt me so badly while I was in such a dark place. And feeling like I couldn't really share that with a lot of people because I didn't want to seem like, well, I'm just name dropping something that happened to me and like giving her attention. Like, I didn't want to mention her. Like, anyone who knew that I had gotten out of a relationship just only knew like her boyfriend cheated on her. Okay, but like something much bigger was going on, because the way I was feeling about myself, it was like, I'm nothing, I'm trash. And this person did something, like, I know it was my partner's responsibility about like treating me with respect, but this person was also very much aware of me. Like, we hung out, we did things together, you know, we'd go to the beach, we'd go out to eat and stuff, and like, this person very, very much knew about me, you know, and very much wasn't very nice to my face, and I didn't understand why, and I thought that I was just being an insecure person. And yeah, there's just this very deep resentment toward the universe. It was like, I'm trying to be a good person, I'm trying to do the best that I can, and it seems like everything that I'm trying to do keeps falling apart. Everything I do keeps falling apart. Meanwhile, this person's life is just like exploding. It's great, it's fabulous, people love her, oh my gosh, she's the most amazing thing in the world. So that was incredibly difficult for me and my confidence. It was like, I am nothing, I am no one. And it doesn't matter how good of a person you are, apparently, you know. So yeah, that is going on in the background of like me trying to skydive and just like break free of like my past and try to like figure this whole self-love thing out, chasing relationships, trying to find validation and acceptance in other people. It's not working. Trying to just do something. I felt like duct taping pieces of my life together to make it look like something valuable or something that had value. And obviously it was unsustainable, and eventually, like a year later, I stopped skydiving, and it was so cold. And it was like all of the stuff that I tried to do failed, and then I was back to square one, and all of my problems were still there. Like, I didn't solve anything. I just happened to numb the pain a little bit. And that's when I really realized, like, I have to do something else. I have to dig deeper, and I have to do some real work. I can't ignore this. So I had a job and I quit it, and I just went hiking by myself and start digging deep into like, what does it mean to love myself? It was very confusing to me because I was into the spiritual stuff and I was understanding like the universe and all of these things, and I was meditating, but I was like, okay, I'm a loving person by nature. I'm a very loving person, but I never get love back. Like, I've never had anybody love me back the way that I love. And then I was like, whoa, okay, I'm looking for my love in other people. No, I'm the person. I'm the only person that can give that love. And so I'm looking for my love. I'm looking to be loved by me. How can I do that? How can I feel that? And that was a tremendous moment for me. And I think that's something very powerful to share, is like when you feel like you love other people, but you have this hole, or like people kind of like let you down or don't really fulfill that need that you have to be loved, it's because you're looking for your own love, and no one has that but you. So I thought that was pretty cool. So the more I spent time with myself, the more I started learning how to feel my own love. I learned some pretty powerful lessons that I want to share. I learned that I had to stop tearing myself down and instead start being my biggest cheerleader. So here's where the Grammy Award-winning artist comes back into the picture. At first, she was like the most painful thing about everything, simply because of her success and like feeling like she did me wrong and like, look at her now, you know. That's not the way the story's supposed to go. But in reality, she never had any sort of responsibility to me. You know, that wasn't her job. It was the person I was with's responsibility to care about the way I felt. So I had to learn how to forgive her and let that go. And not only that, but be happy for her success. I made that a point. I was like, I'm going to see her face and hear her music and not have this fight or flight response. I'm going to be like, oh, cool. Yeah, I like this song. So I literally did. Like, I added her to the Spotify rotation. I got very comfortable seeing her, and I was like, you know what? I don't know her life, and I'm sure she worked very hard to get to where she is, and I'm sure it's not easy, because I've seen the behind the Hollywood scenes type of thing. Like, I was in that life, and it's not an easy thing, and you have to have very tough skin, and you have to be a very strong person to handle that. And so I told myself, I was like, I'm going to respect her, and I'm going to celebrate her for being the person that she is. And I'm ultimately very thankful to her, because if she wasn't involved in the situation, I probably would have never found the courage to leave the relationship. So that was a big turning point for my self-love. And I think the reasoning behind that was because I had to admit to myself that my confidence was being dictated by how I felt I was being perceived compared to other people. And I had to stop comparing myself. That's when the lessons really started coming in. You know, I was like, instead of me tearing myself down for not being somebody, for not comparing to someone else, I have to start being my biggest cheerleader. And in being able to cheerlead myself, I have to be able to find the humility and love to cheer other people on too. Because it's like, if you can't be happy for other people's success, it's kind of like jealousy, you know, or whatever. And so that's that insecurity. And so if I rationalized it, like, if I could be happy for her success, then I'm going to be a confident person. And so that was sort of my challenge to myself. The other lesson I learned was that I had to realize that if other people could make me feel bad about myself, it was only because I agreed with it in some way. And so that really made me address like needing the validation of other people and needing to really feel accepted, like constant approval from other people to be okay with me. Because I was the type of person where, like, if I felt like someone didn't love me, like, oh, Brooklyn's great, you know, all the time, it would just send me through this spiral of like anxiety. Like, my stomach would be in knots over it. Like, how can I be back in good graces with this person or whatever? It drove me nuts to feel like someone wasn't like, Brooklyn's the sunshine and rainbows of everything in my life, you know? Yeah, it was really hard for me to like not feel completely accepted at all times. I had to learn how to let go of people who did not respect me. And that ties into the whole validation thing. Because when you're seeking validation and approval from people who don't respect you, they don't care. And you'll find yourself lowering your self-worth just to get breadcrumbs from people who do not care. That was a painful lesson to learn, but I'm glad that I learned it. I learned that really the only thing that you can attach yourself to is your values, your truth, and your personal meaning for life. So I had to let go of people and start focusing on what is it that I truly believe? What are my convictions? And what do I feel like is my purpose for waking up every day? And anything that is not in alignment with that, anything that takes me away from my truth, can't be in my life. And that helped me to separate things out that were contaminating my ability to truly, love myself and not distract me into thinking that I needed to be something or do certain things to have that stamp of approval, I learned that I have to stop judging my life based off of where I am right now, because I don't know where I'm going. And how exciting is it to see your life as this ongoing process versus right now it doesn't look good, and use that as an indicator of your worth as a person. You're not done. You can't see the vision because you're in this one little piece of the puzzle. It's just a momentary instance in your life. You're here for a reason, and just wait to see what it blossoms into. So it's not the end. Right now is not the end. So keep going and keep exploring. And it still is kind of tough for me sometimes, to not judge myself based off of where I am right now, and to know and to trust that it's going to keep going, and there's always ups and downs, but ultimately there's so many more great things that are coming my way. So I have to just trust in that, Oh my gosh. And I think the biggest lesson, the biggest wisdom for me to come out of all of this was that God loves me. The universe loves me. And we say it all the time. Oh, God loves you, whatever. But meditate on that. Meditate on that and feel that. The entire universe is supporting me. I must be pretty freaking special. And who am I to be I'm not good enough? What are you talking about? I'm a masterful creation. This is I'm amazing. And so I should feel good about myself. I don't know. Some days it's easier to believe than others, but that's always something that you can go back to. It's you may feel down about yourself, but the entire freaking universe has, everything that has happened in the entire universe came together, and here you are. So that's pretty spectacular. Self-love is it's an ongoing process. I don't think it's ever going to end. I think I'm always going to be discovering new ways to have better relationships with myself and the way I see myself, and ways that I can be more kind to myself. I think that is just always going to keep building and building. I don't think you should ever be well, I love myself enough. Just keep going in and just discovering new wonderful things about yourself, and keep learning to appreciate yourself. I don't think we've really put a lot of emphasis on appreciating yourself. It's not arrogant, especially when there's so many people with low self-esteem. It's not arrogant, it is essential. So make that a priority. If you get anything from this video, I hope that you get that loving yourself is about empowering yourself to set your own standards for your worth. It is about taking your power back from other people telling you who you are and how good you are. Take your power back. This is a self-empowerment moment. And it's funny, like, sometimes we feel like, well, I'm the only person who thinks this is cool about me, so it must not be very special. What? Like, that's so flawed, because if the entire world thought something was really cool about you and you didn't believe it, only you, that would be enough to make it not work. So you're like the only thing that really matters in it. So if you're the only person who likes something about you, that's it. That's all you need. No one else matters. No one else matters. And I think that's one of the hard parts about self-love that no one really talks about, is like sometimes you have to stand alone, and people are people, and everyone's just thinking about themselves. They're not really, truly thinking about how you might feel about something, and they may not even realize like the effects that they're having on you. But what you have to understand is that, like, if you're the only person who's believing in yourself in a point in your life, stand in that, be alone in that, and don't let being the only person who loves you make you think that you're not worth love. Be empowered in you being the person doing it. Yeah, it gets lonely sometimes, being like the only person who believes in yourself. But I would rather be lonely sometimes than to be hostage to the fickleness of other people. So find the power, the personal power, to not be afraid to be alone in believing in yourself. And I think the truth is that there are so many people afraid of stepping out into that unknown and being by themselves and loving what they do, or like accepting themselves for who they are, that they're more comfortable living by the rules of other people. But if you can find a way to build the courage to stand alone in your personal power, that, I believe, for me, that's where life really starts happening. And that's where you really start having a more incredible experience in life. So that's a little bit about me. I'm not perfect. I'm still not perfect in it. There are days I doubt myself. Oh my gosh, like, it's incredible the contrast that I still experience sometimes. Some days I'm like, yes, and other times I'm like, why am I even here? I'm so tired of this. I'm so tired of this. But the important thing is you keep going, and just know, like, you're never really alone, because I always love you, always. So oh my God, it's so cold.